Welcome back to Superbly Said Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases.
So glad to be here again.
Yeah, and before we jump into today's focus, I want to really quickly mention that this material comes to us from a highly requested SpeakDuo lesson.
Oh, right. SpeakDuo.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to meet new people from all around the world and, practice English on live video calls to really become more confident in your speaking abilities, you can just go to speakduo.com.
I mean, it is an incredibly effective resource for exactly what we are doing today, honestly.
Definitely.
Because our mission here is to equip you, the advanced English learner, with nuanced, high-level phrases. But we aren't just going to, read a list of definitions from a dusty textbook.
Right, that would be incredibly boring.
Exactly. So to really understand why these phrases work, we are going to build a cohesive story. We're going to navigate this chaotic, high-stakes corporate project from the initial green light all the way to a near disaster.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we'll be examining the exact language that captures the momentum and, the friction of that whole journey.
Well, I am fully ready for this narrative arc. Let's start at phase 1 of this hypothetical project.
Okay, let's do it.
So the team is gathered in the conference room, the budget is approved, and you need to initiate the process. The phrase here is kick something off, which basically means to start an event, a meeting, or a process.
Right, to kick something off.
But I kind of struggle with the necessity of this one. Why borrow sports jargon? Why not just stand up and say, let's begin the project? I mean, begin is universally understood, right?
Well, yeah, it is perfectly accurate, but begin is entirely administrative. It's kind of devoid of momentum,
Oh, I see.
When you look at the phrase kickoff, you really have to look at its physical origins in gridiron football. The kickoff is the exact moment anticipation turns into kinetic energy.
Ah, so you're bringing that energy into the room.
Precisely. When you bring that into a boardroom, it implies a burst of collaborative, forward-moving action. It gives whatever you are doing this very dynamic, event-like quality.
So it's essentially a deliberate tone setter.
Yes, exactly.
Like in a workplace setting, if I am leading a strategy workshop, saying let's begin, sounds like I am, opening a math textbook.
Right, a bit dry.
But if I say let's kick the workshop off with a quick introduction exercise, I am signaling to the room that they need to be active participants.
You are actively driving the process forward. And you can use it upward, too, when pitching to leadership. Right. You could tell your boss, we want to kick this new marketing campaign off by the 1st of the month. It really demonstrates agency.
Okay, so the project kicks off, and the initial reaction is euphoria. Everyone's thrilled.
Right, the honeymoon phase.
Exactly. And that brings us to our next phrase, which is head over heels.
Yeah.
The definition is being completely overwhelmed by a strong feeling. Usually excitement or love.
Yes, head over heels.
But physically speaking, I mean, my head is always over my heels. It feels a bit anatomically redundant to say that.
It totally does seem redundant now, but the history here is actually fascinating. In the 14th century, the phrase was actually heels over head.
Wait, really? Heels over head?
Yeah. It referred to someone literally doing a somersault or tumbling totally out of control. Over time, language just shifted it to head over heels. But the core imagery remained.
The loss of balance.
Exactly, a complete loss of gravity and balance. If we compare head over heels to simply being excited, the nuance is entirely about losing control.
Because when you were just excited, your feet are still planted firmly on the ground.
You got it. But when you are head over heels, the emotion has entirely consumed you.
That distinction is so crucial for something like an IELTS speaking Part 2 response.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if the examiner asks you to describe a highly memorable moment, saying I was very happy, falls completely flat.
It really does.
But if you say, I was head over heels when I found out I got accepted to my top choice school, you paint this vivid picture of the exact physical and emotional overwhelm of that joy.
Yeah, you really capture the tumbling sensation of the moment. But, as we continue our project narrative, that initial euphoria usually fades.
As it always does in corporate life.
Right. You look at the actual scope of the work and you realize you have stepped into a trap. That requires our third phrase, let yourself in for.
Let yourself in for.
Which means to unknowingly get into a difficult or complicated situation.
I usually equate this to volunteering, but there's a distinct flavor of regret here.
Oh, heavily flavored with regret.
It's like agreeing to water your neighbor's plants while they're on vacation. You think you're signing up for like a cactus and maybe a fern.
A 5-minute job.
Exactly. Then they hand you the keys, you walk in, and you realize they have a massive, climate-controlled industrial greenhouse in their living room.
That analogy perfectly isolates the nuance. I love that. Because if you simply volunteer for something, you are fully aware of the parameters.
You made a conscious choice.
Right. But let yourself in for specifically emphasizes the unknowing aspect of the impending difficulty. You essentially opened a door without realizing what was behind it.
So back in our corporate narrative, you might look at your colleague and say, by agreeing to lead the software project, she let herself in for a busy few months.
Because she didn't know the code was completely broken when she said yes.
Right? Or maybe someone complaining about their schedule could say, I let myself in for extra shifts, and now I'm struggling to balance my free time.
Exactly. It is an admission of miscalculation. And once you are in that deep water, inevitably you hit the bureaucratic roadblock.
The dreaded red tape.
Yep. And the red tape begins to cramp your style. This means to restrict how freely you can act or express yourself.
I mean, I have historically used words like bothering or hindering in this kind of context. Like if my internet connection is slow, it hinders my ability to work.
Right, but cramp your style feels much more closely tied to identity.
Oh, so it's more personal.
It absolutely is. If something hinders you, it stops you from achieving a purely mechanical goal. But cramp your style is deeply personal.
Okay.
The nuance is the restriction of your personal expression or your individual flair. Think of a physical cramp your muscle seizes up, preventing natural fluid movement.
So figuratively, it means your identity is being boxed in by outside forces.
Exactly.
Let's apply that to a workplace presentation. If you are a naturally charismatic speaker who relies on, improvisation and audience interaction, you might complain afterward.
Yeah, you could say, having to follow a strict legal script completely cramped my style during the presentation.
Right, because it didn't stop you from speaking, it stopped you from being you.
Perfect way to put it. Or, in a more casual setting, imagine wearing a highly restrictive, stiff suit to a wedding.
Oh, the worst.
You might say, this tuxedo really cramps my style when I try to dance. It is literally restricting your natural, authentic movement.
That makes total sense. So what happens when that restriction turns into an actual existential threat to our hypothetical project?
Like a disaster.
Right, the vendor quits, or a massive budget cut is announced. That requires our next phrase, face something down, which means to confront and overcome a frightening or difficult situation directly.
Face something down.
But I'm wondering, is there an inherent power struggle baked into this phrase? Like, why not just deal with the problem?
Let's look at the contrast. If you have a stack of expense reports on your desk, you deal with them.
Because it's boring.
Yeah, dealing with is an administrative routine. Facing down, on the other hand, requires active courage. It implies you are staring a threat into submission.
Wow, okay.
Think of two gunfighters in the Old West staring at each other in the street. You are not managing a neutral problem. You are dominating a hostile force through direct confrontation.
It fundamentally shifts the power dynamic.
It really does.
If we go back to an IELTS speaking scenario where you must discuss overcoming a challenge, saying, I dealt with it, just sounds like you filed some paperwork.
Very passive.
But if you say, I faced my fear of public speaking down by practicing and then presenting at a small event, it makes you sound incredibly resilient. You didn't just survive the fear, you actively defeated it.
Yes. It gives you immense agency. But even with all that courage, sometimes you face down a massive problem and realize you just need a little more time.
And that brings us to a stay of execution.
Exactly. Defined as a temporary delay or suspension of something unpleasant, often to allow time for reconsideration.
The dramatic weight of this phrase is intense. You wouldn't use this for, pushing a lunch meeting back by 10 minutes.
No, absolutely not.
To use stay of execution, the impending event has to be essentially fatal to whatever you're working on.
The stakes have to be incredibly high because the phrase literally comes from the legal world.
Right, judges and courts.
Specifically, a judge halting capital punishment at the 11th hour. If you contrast this with a simple postponement, the difference is survival.
Because a postponement is totally neutral.
Right. A stay of execution, used figuratively in business, emphasizes that destruction was imminent.
Imagine having a highly combative conversation with your boss about a failing product. You might report back to your team, a stay of execution gave us time to fix the software bug before the release.
And the implication is that if the release had happened on time, the product would have died on arrival.
The delay literally saved your professional life.
Yes. And to capitalize on that borrowed time, you have to strategically deploy your resources. Which brings us to the phrase, lay something out.
Lay something out.
This means to spend or invest money on something, or to explain and arrange details clearly.
To me, this evokes the physical action of unrolling a massive blueprint or literally placing cash, bill by bill, on a table. It sounds highly deliberate.
The physical imagery is exactly why the idiom persists. Think about the difference between laying out and simply paying for.
Paying for is standard. A thoughtless transaction, like paying for a cup of coffee.
Exactly. But laying out implies a calculated, methodical investment. It shows intention and scale.
So in a personal finance context, you wouldn't just say you bought a kitchen. You'd emphasize the magnitude by saying, he laid out a lot of cash to renovate the kitchen, and it looks great now.
Perfect example?
Or for trip planning, you could say, I'd lay out money for reliable travel insurance when planning a long trip. You are deliberately allocating resources for a protected outcome.
And part of being deliberate with your resources is knowing what to ignore completely to get the project across the finish line.
Right, ignoring the noise.
Which leads us to our final phrase before the quiz. Have no bearing on. This means to be completely irrelevant or unrelated to something.
Why use a nautical term here instead of just saying it does not affect the outcome?
Because a bearing refers to a direction on a compass. If something is off your bearing, it is literally not on your map.
It will never intersect with your path.
Exactly. Has no bearing on is absolute. It is used defensively in professional debates to logically dismiss entirely irrelevant factors.
So it shuts down the opposing argument by asserting that their point doesn't even exist in the same universe as the current topic.
It severs the connection entirely.
I love that. So if someone is unfairly criticizing a coworker based on how they spend their weekends, you could step in and state, her personal hobbies have no bearing on her ability to do the job well.
Yes. Or, what I watch on TV has no bearing on my work performance. It draws a non-negotiable boundary.
It really does. And speaking of boundaries, we have somehow reached the end of our project narrative.
We survive.
We did. Which means it is time to test how well you, the listener, have grasped these nuanced distinctions.
I'm excited for this.
It is time for the Superbly Said quiz. This is where we see if you can identify these phrases in their proper context. So here's how it'll work. I'm going to read a question followed by option A, option B, and option C.
Listen closely, everyone.
I will give you a quick prompt to pause this audio if you need a moment to think, and then we will immediately reveal the answer and break down exactly why it is correct.
Let's jump right in.
Okay, question 1. Which sentence uses the idiomatic phrase cramp your style correctly based on context?
Cramp your style.
Option A. The highly restrictive corporate uniform guidelines completely cramped my style during the creative workshop.
What?
Option B. The terribly painful leg muscle violently cramped my style during the athletic marathon race.
Breaks.
Option C. The highly inexperienced amateur hairdresser unfortunately cramped my style during the disastrous salon visit. Feel free to pause the audio right here if you need a second to think about the answer.
So the correct answer is option A. Cramp your style. We established earlier that this isn't about physical muscle cramps, which eliminates B immediately.
Right.
And it's way more profound than just a bad haircut. It's about restricting your personal expression or individual flair.
Like the stiff suit.
Exactly. Just like having to follow a strict legal script or wearing a stiff suit, a highly restrictive corporate uniform prevents you from authentically expressing your creative identity.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Moving on to question 2. Select the context where the phrase head over heels is most appropriately used.
Head over heels.
Option A. The incredibly clumsy young gymnast accidentally tumbled head over heels during the difficult performance. Option B. Following the amazingly successful business presentation, she was absolutely head over heels with excitement.
Okay.
Option C. The fashionable, wealthy boutique shopper placed her head over heels inside the shoe store.
Oh boy.
Hit pause on the audio if you need a second to decide.
The answer here is option B, head over heels. Option A uses the words in their literal physical sense of tumbling from the 14th century.
Right, the somersault.
Yeah, but the modern idiomatic use we explored, which is option B, matches that feeling of emotional overwhelm. Getting accepted to your top choice school or delivering a flawless business presentation leaves you entirely consumed by joy.
You're losing your emotional balance in the best possible way.
Exactly.
All right. Question 3. In which situation does someone accurately let yourself in for something figuratively?
Let yourself in for.
Option A. The highly polite security guard safely let yourself in for the exclusive private concert.
Right.
Option B. The extremely generous wealthy landlord gracefully let yourself in for the expensive new apartment. Option C. By accepting the highly demanding corporate leadership position, you let yourself in for trouble.
Okay, got it.
Go ahead and pause the recording here if you need a moment.
The answer is option C, let yourself in for. Options A and B treat let in literally like physically opening a door to a room.
Which is not the idiom.
No. Idiomatically, this phrase means to unknowingly step into a trap or a complicated situation. It reflects our example of agreeing to lead a project and accidentally letting yourself in for a grueling few months.
Because you didn't fully grasp the scope of the problem.
Exactly, like the greenhouse analogy.
The greenhouse. Moving to question 4. Which response best demonstrates the advanced phrase, face something down?
Face something down.
Option A. The incredibly brave, dedicated community leader managed to successfully face the intimidating problem down.
Good one.
Option B. The deeply exhausted mountain hiker had to carefully face something down toward the valley.
Okay.
Option C. The highly frustrated, angry professional poker player decided to quickly face something down today. Feel free to pause this deep dive if you need to think it over.
It is option A, face something down. Remember, this idiom requires active courage. It is not about physically pointing your body down a mountain, nor is it about playing cards face down on a table.
It's the standoff.
Yes. It brings back our analogy of the two gunfighters in the Old West staring a threat into submission rather than just neutrally dealing with paperwork.
Perfectly said. Question 5. How would a professional accurately use the phrasal verb, kick something off?
Kick something off.
Option A. The highly energetic, aggressive professional soccer player managed to violently kick something right off.
Yikes.
Option B. The highly experienced corporate project manager decided to enthusiastically kick something off this morning.
Okay.
Option C. The incredibly clumsy, nervous restaurant waiter managed to accidentally kick something off the table.
Oops.
Pause the audio here if you want to consider your choice.
The correct choice is option B, kick something off. While a soccer player literally kicks a ball in a professional setting, this phrase borrows that kinetic energy to mean starting an event with momentum.
Right.
It is the collaborative burst required to kick a workshop off with an engaging introduction exercise rather than just quietly beginning an agenda.
All right, question 6. Which scenario perfectly illustrates the ability to have no bearing on something?
Had no bearing on.
Option A. The frustrated automotive mechanic discovered the damaged wheel has no working bearing on it.
Okay.
Option B. The completely lost, terrified wilderness explorer seemed to have no bearing on the map. Option C. Her unusual personal weekend hobbies genuinely have no bearing on her professional corporate performance.
Right.
Take a second to pause the audio if you need to.
The answer is option C, have no bearing on. We aren't discussing mechanical ball bearings for a wheel, nor are we discussing literal nautical navigation.
We are establishing an absolute boundary.
Yes, an absolute boundary of irrelevance. Just as your television viewing habits have no bearing on your work performance, a person's weekend hobbies are entirely off the map when evaluating their corporate capabilities.
Spot on. Question 7. Which sentence accurately utilizes the advanced phrasal verb, lay something out?
Lay something out.
Option A. The incredibly wealthy, generous property owner decided to comfortably lay something out for renovations.
Okay.
Option B. The deeply exhausted, tired university student desperately wanted to simply lay something out today.
Relatable.
Option C. The highly aggressive professional heavyweight boxer attempted to violently lay something out this evening.
Oh my.
Pause here if you need a little more time to think.
Option A is the correct answer. Lay something out. In our context, it means to deliberately spend or invest money.
Not taking a nap or knocking someone out?
Exactly. It has nothing to do with a student laying out on a blanket or a boxer knocking an opponent out. It relies on that physical imagery of methodical investment, like unrolling a blueprint or laying out cash bill by bill for a new pitch-in or reliable travel insurance.
And here we are, our final question. Question 8. Which of the following statements correctly uses a stay of execution, figuratively?
Stay of execution.
Option A. The extremely terrifying medieval royal executioner aggressively refused the demanded temporary stay of execution.
Okay.
Option B. The struggling software development team received a crucial stay of execution before the deadline. Option C. The extremely wealthy corporate management team enjoyed a relaxing hotel stay of execution yesterday.
Wow.
Hit pause one last time on this audio if you need to.
The answer is option B, stay of execution. Option A represents the literal historical use of the term regarding capital punishment, and option C mistakenly treats stay like a hotel vacation.
Which would be a very weird
It is
vacation.
very weird. Option B uses it figuratively to represent a crucial temporary delay of a catastrophic event, just like getting a critical extension to fix a fatal software bug that would have killed the product release.
And that wraps up the quiz.
We made it.
If you successfully identify the nuances in these scenarios, massive congratulations. You aren't just memorizing definitions, you are actively expanding your advanced toolkit to recognize the subtle historical and emotional differences that separate good English speakers from great ones.
It is a really significant step forward in your fluency, and I want to circle back to the thought we opened with today.
Oh, about reality.
Yeah, language isn't just a passive tool for transmitting data. It actively shapes the reality you experience. Ask yourself, when you start using phrases like facing down a challenge instead of just passively dealing with it, or calling a critical deadline extension a stay of execution, how does that dramatically shift your own internal confidence?
Your sense of agency.
And your urgency. The words you choose fundamentally rewrite the world you operate in.
What a brilliant perspective to leave on. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into these nuanced phrases. Keep exploring, keep challenging your vocabulary, and we will catch you next time.